Guys, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra's full announcement is just around the corner, probably about a week away at this point. And every time I talk about this device, or every time I see anyone talk about this device really on the internet, people say kind of the same sorts of things. They say, man, that sure does not seem like a big improvement over the S22 Ultra. And yeah, I can definitely appreciate that. I can see where people are coming from when they say something like that, because if we look at the device, really doesn't look very different from the S22 Ultra. You could definitely confuse somebody and make them think that was the S22 Ultra, even though that is the S23 Ultra. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over, I think, the three biggest reasons to buy the S23 Ultra. Now, this is not necessarily going to be true if you're someone that already owns the 22. If you own the 22, probably not enough here to jump all the way up to the 23 and to spend that money again. Although the trade-in values that Samsung gives tend to be pretty ridiculous. So there's a chance you could trade that 22 in and pay for a good chunk of that 23 if you wanted to just keep that ball rolling and stay on the absolute razor's edge of technology. But for the most part, that's probably not going to be the case. This is for someone that maybe has a 20 or an older device or another device, and they want to make that big jump for. Maybe they're a couple of generations behind. These are my top three reasons why you might buy the S23 Ultra. And the biggest one, the first one here, is going to be that brand new processor, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. This thing is going to be exceptionally fast. It's going to be the fastest phone on the market because it's going to have the newest, fastest processor. And there's also word that Samsung has done a lot to improve the cooling in this device, because what tends to hurt these things and why devices like Asus's ROG phones and so forth tend to benchmark faster and be faster. And let me be clear about this. When Asus releases a gaming phone with the 8 Gen 2, it's going to be faster than the S23 Ultra because of the cooling. That tends to be where that, where that extra gap is then made. These devices are very, very fast, but they get hot and they thermally throttle. They can't maintain peak performance for very long because of the temperatures. Well, apparently Samsung has done a lot of work to improve on those thermals. They're not going to be gaming phone levels. They're not putting a fan inside the phone like companies like Asus might be prone to doing, but still, it's going to be very, very fast. And as somebody who was absolutely blown away by the overall smoothness and efficiency on my Z Fold 4, which is running, I believe, the 8 Gen 1 Plus, going to the Gen 2 is going to be a really, really nice improvement. So that's going to be a big thing for a lot of people. You want the fastest phone? It's going to be a really, really fast phone. What about the camera? The camera is getting a really big overhaul as well. We are going from the 108 megapixel sensor that we've been using, which I believe is the HM3. We're switching to the ISOCELL HP2, which is a 200 megapixel camera. I'm going to pull up on the screen right now a photo that was purportedly taken by the S23 Ultra, and you can kind of look at this as I talk for a moment. But this thing, like I said, 200 megapixels. Now, the effective size of this thing is not really any bigger than the 108, right? So the pixels are just smaller. They've squeezed more pixels into about the same space, but because of that, they can bend things and they can do a lot of really interesting things. You're going to do a 4-to-1 binning to have 1.2 micrometer pixels and a 50 megapixel resolution, or 16-to-1 binning to have 2.4 micrometer pixels. Now we're getting pretty big, and a 12.5 megapixel resolution image. So we're going to get some pretty good low light performance, some good detail. Hopefully the shutter speed is improved as well because of this binning. Larger and larger pixels bend together are going to benefit in those ways. We're also supposed to get full 8K video support with 4-to-1 binning, 1.2 micrometer pixels. So full 8K film. I don't know what you're doing with 8K videos, but if you want to have 8K, totally going to be a thing with this 200 megapixel sensor. And then 15 FPS bursts at 200 megapixels. Unbelievable. So if you want to take crazy high resolution images really, really quickly, maybe you're like something I used to do is take photos of lightning. So try to catch a lightning strike. 15 FPS bursts at 200 megapixels. Are you kidding me? That is absolutely insane. So as we, zoom in on this photo, you can see the amount of detail, the contrast, the colors that are being kept with this sensor, the camera is going to be very, very impressive. And of course, you're still going to have improvements being made to the super res zoom, that 100 times zoom. It's going to be improved further through software, as they're always going to be doing that sort of thing. And then one last thing, which we need to go back to the picture of the device itself that I just had on screen. It appears to be a flatter display. A lot of people complain that the S22 Ultra curved around the edges far too much. This looks to be quite a bit flatter, better ergonomics, better, probably fewer false touches on the screen there. All of these things are good. You can't see from this picture, but the power and volume buttons are also dropped down a bit further. So ergonomically should be an improved device as well because of these changes. Now look, like I said, these aren't massive changes. If you have the 22 versus the 23, not going to be a massive change, but that's never the case. If you're someone using an older phone though, this looks like it's going to be a really, really nice device. I'll drop a link down below to reserve a device now. If you do that, you can get some credits towards some accessories when this thing is announced. We're expecting sometime, I think February 1st is the most recent rumor for when we're going to get the full unveiling of the S23 Ultra. Guys, hit that subscribe button before you go so you don't miss out on more content like this. I will see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.